All right, we're live right now.
Good morning, everybody. It is the great Mattsby and your humble Tesla tracker.
Yay, it's Monday, the 16th,
Monday,
a new week.
a new week. We had a really great Saturday Spaces or a Saturday YouTube show. Really, we had
Yeah.
thousands of viewers and thousands more after the show.
Yeah, and even on the YouTube, like over 600 watched it as well. So that was good.
That's fantastic. So
Mhm.
we're just going to give everyone a chance to come into the show here. I was going to even retweet the link, but of course my computer decided to restart itself at the last second. So I'm just getting back to my page right now. Waka chicka waka chicka waka chicka waka. That's all my favorite music comes with Waka Jigga Waka.
That's good. Good vibes.
Let's see. Where is looking up the map speed. Echo lights. Got to change the automation. I have the lights turn off at 9 a.m. Exactly when I need them to stay on. Here we go. Massview mornings. Good morning. We'll just can't retweet it.
All
And we're
right.
live.
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Everyone's had a couple minutes to see your link, and they'll be coming in with my link now.
All right. Yeah, so it looks like the QQQs are going to be opening up a little bit negative today. But it's kind of understandable after the week it had on the daily chart. It was green every single day last week, so it's kind of understandable if there is some weakness, but it could still be a buy the dip kind of a day, right? Because if it goes back down to the 50-day moving average, that would be 470, and that could bounce right from there. So I think regardless of the negative, it's just going back to possibly retest a support there. So I don't think that it's anything to worry about, and it's probably going to be a volatile week anyways because of that news. Do you know when that news is coming out, Tracker, or no?
For
The
the
rate the rate cuts or whatever.
Wednesday, usually about 1:30 ish, I think, Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, 1:30 ish. Yeah.
I'm
So
rejoining the stream here. Sorry about that.
no
I'm
problem.
backstage.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so it'll probably just maybe be retesting support zones possibly until the Wednesday. I don't know if it'll be making new highs, but it is a potential because there's really no resistance above until like the previous candles up here in the 480s. So it is possible things could continue higher and then Wednesday could go back and freak people out. So that's a possibility too. So we'll see. And let's take a look at the SPY. How's that looking? Yeah, it's just down a little bit. Let's see if it can make all-time highs this week, right? It's really, really close. Do you think it's going to happen, Steve?
It's
Tracker?
got like this ending diagonal kind of look to it. Like it just wants to get up a little higher, like break all the previous resistances. And then, I don't know, it could keep running or it could go back for that stupid gap it's still left behind back there in August, around August 10th, I think it says.
Oh,
That,
like right here?
that one right there.
Yeah.
So it like left this gap behind. Not all gaps get filled. It could just keep on going. But at the same time, if they want to do another liquidity grab, they could make a
Yeah.
new higher high, break over those last two resistances, those last two higher highs, and then everyone like buys in, and then it dumps like
Yeah.
overnight.
Yeah. And Wednesday, the bottom of the cloud is exactly that gap. So it's a possibility, right? It's very
Yeah.
possible. Interesting. And let's see what IWM looks like here. It's actually up pre-market. That's not too bad.
See,
I could,
look,
yeah,
it gapped up again, right? It's rushing
yeah,
to it's rushing to touch that resistance trend line. You can sort of draw like an invisible with your eye, an invisible trend line right there, yeah. And it's just rushing to touch it and to challenge it, and either we'll get another real breakout, or it's a fake out and it dies back down again.
yeah, yeah. If you would draw it like that, it would be touching it right now.
Yeah,
Or if you touch all those wicks, it's already touching it. So it could be breaking them out above it. That's why I don't really like trend lines because people draw them different ways.
yeah, it's
So
tough. it's tough. I usually just use all the wicks.
Yeah. Well, using all the wicks right there,
Yeah.
when it touches one body, it's kind of above it now. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, I love how IWM looks. I think it's going to go higher regardless. And being back above the daily cloud is good and above everything. So it's looking really, really bullish.
Yeah, all these resistance trend lines, once it finally makes a real breakout above that resistance trend line, the ultimate target will be higher than the highest point, in that trend line. It'll just
Yeah.
rocket up.
Yeah. So that means, I mean, I still want it to make a higher high regardless. I want it to go above this high here, the 222.45. So
Right.
not sure if that's going to do it, but it would be good to see a daily close and a weekly close above that level. So just more patience, I guess. Let's
Absolutely.
see here. Let's go. Should we do Tesla?
Sure, let's do Tesla.
All right.
I've got an interesting new thesis to share with everyone, but you do yours first.
Yeah, so it's just doing nothing really exciting. It's just broke above the levels, every level last week on the daily chart. That's great to see. And on the weekly chart, it broke above everything except for that pesky 200-week moving average. It reminds me of XRP, keep doing the same thing. But yeah, it's just going to be pressing up against it, I think, the whole week. So if there is a week to do it, this could be it, right, with all this volatility. But it could actually go back down to retest the 225s, maybe even 223s. And I mean, if it's a real scare, it could even come back down to the 205s, right? If like Wednesday people freak out or whatever, then that could be a possibility as well. But regardless, it's still just in that long, wide range. And I think the possibility to break above it is there. It just has to get that momentum. But yeah, I'll let you share your chart.
Okay.
Tracker. I'll put you on right here. And you're on.
Sometimes those FOMC results, when everyone's expecting the rate cut, then like price like starts to go higher and higher in ahead of the rate cut. And then when the rate cut actually comes, everyone says, oh no, well, the news was already priced in and it takes a nosedive, even though it was exactly what they wanted to see. Then like, oh no, it was priced in already, and then it retracts. Anyway, that aside, that has nothing to do with what I'm going to show you here.
Yeah.
This super busy chart, obviously the big blue triangle is exactly that resistance trend line from the 414 high, or 414.50 high, all the way down to the well, to where we are now, through the 299.29 high. And we're kind of like, this is the daily chart, so we are kind of above it now on the daily chart. I mean, we are above it. And it kind of looks like it already did kind of like get above it, test back down to it, and now it's moving up, which looks really good. And the thing that was interesting, I was just looking at this morning, was I've talked about this before, how, let me go back over here. Tesla seems to like to consolidate in 5 waves down, and then it corrects back up in 5 waves. And even here, when it made this higher high, I can count 5 waves, but it has this feel of an A, B, C move from like down here. And so over here, what I'm doing is like one of the most, or two of the most bullish cases I can think of where it could just catch everyone by surprise is, okay, right here. Let me just see if I can change this color to white for a second. No, that's terrible. Let's make it black. All right, these are fib retracements. So from this low here at the 167.41, retracing back to this 198.87, where price like gapped up to and then consolidated down. And then what happened is after it went 198.87 to 167.41, and then shot up to basically a negative 223.6, a 223.6% move off of this 198.87. And that's how we got to 271. So if it did that whole thing again, but off of the 271 to 182, it would look like this green set of ghost lines that I've copied on here. and that could take us to 469.30. So in other words, if this is just a fractal of what's to come from here to here, then this is that fractal played out on the next scale up. And I did also sort of do what if it did a 223% retrace? Not retrace. It's a negative extension. It's kind of a weird way to look at it. Was going to do this whole video this weekend, and I ran out of steam. I spent so much time just doing the tutorial chart itself that I'm going to use. But yeah, from 231 back to 138, and if it goes 223.6, that takes us to 566.59. So the most bullish cases are that it does this ABC correction and rockets up and just catches everyone's breath. So look out for that. Otherwise, a 5-wave extension. I'm targeting 283 next. After this, I know there's a whole bunch of stuff on here. And 2, 1, 2. Like
Do you see any lows this week, like on Wednesday, going back down to like the 205s or anything possible?
Let's see. Let's do that real quick. That's a great question. Here on the 4-hour chart, if it wanted to retrace, hide that. I mean, basically, what do we get? We got more than. Let me just flip this around. Yeah, we got like this 88.6% retrace, and then a little bit more, which could send it back down to 219.26. This 382. So it's possible if it gets sent back down, if 235 gets rejected, if it can't get to 235 or it only gets to 235, then maybe as I said, the 382, about 219.36, which is very similar to this 219.80, basically a retest of 220.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, if it can't get higher than the 235 here, or this 240 here, or even if it gets to 250, that would just correct down in 5 waves, 219. But if it just rejects off of something lower, it could just ABC down to about, like I said, 219. Yeah.
I mean, it kind of did that like last week, anyways. Though it went down to like 215s and stuff. Yeah,
it did. This whole thing is just it's what I call I guess it's actually not. It's a leading diagonal because it's going into the third wave. This whole thing is kind of doing this, and then from that, it's going to have to correct down a little bit. So I'm hoping to 252, and then a chance to sell and then rebuy some more back down here.
yeah.
So if you're hodling out there, just keep on hodling. Everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think trying to trade this right now is how people are getting washed up in this washing machine, right?
Absolutely.
It's like if you just were to buy back at the lows and just hold on for the ride, you'd be doing a lot better, really. It's just so difficult right now, especially like the volatility week after week is insane. Like the week prior and on the week of September 3rd, like that was just so volatile. Like that Friday just closed 19 points down. It was ridiculous. And then the next week it shot 19 points up.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it's just so crazy.
So, I'm going to, you can take me, you can go back to your chart if you want. So yeah, my advice now to everyone is just, if you're trying to trade this thing, don't put all of your money into Tesla and wait for it to go up. Have some cash and wait for it to dip, then buy that dip and then let it go up. And then when it gets to a top again, sell some back to cash. And that's how you should trade this thing. Wait with cash.
Yep. And on my linear scale Tesla chart here too, it's just more confluence of like that angle right there is really difficult to break above. So like I always say, true market symmetry lies on linear scale just because nothing is exponential on the chart and everything is equidistant from each other. So basically, yeah, it's just got to break above for that week. And that's exactly kind of where price is at right now too. So Tesla is looking like maybe it's ready, maybe not. We'll find out by Friday, but could it come back all the way down to that 210 and retest the arc? I mean, I guess that's possible too, but I would just say it's still in that range until it breaks above.
Yeah.
And 5-year price targets, I see Kevin's asking. Well, my 5-year is over 3,000, so
I know.
3,000 a share. That's what I think.
That'd be so
Let's
cool.
see. We have a request for Apple, so let's take a look for Apple stock here. We'll go right here for Apple. So yeah, Apple is 216 pre-market, huh? Right back to that weekly conversion line. I think that was not a surprise. And I was telling Patreon members that the whole time too, that it never really went back to the bottom of the cloud back last week on the daily chart. So the possibility to go back down there is there. And so I think that's where it's headed, down to 213. And because it was kind of obvious day after day, the whole week last week, it could not break above the 50-day moving average. So that kind of just told me that it's not ready to go higher. It wants to go lower. And sure enough, is there any news? Like what's going on with the price?
Well, they released their next phone, and
it's like the sales are down. The sales are like not as
Yeah.
great as last year, I think. Yeah. They're pre-order sales, I should say. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of expected to me the whole time. Like it just broke out massively, and now it's just maybe retesting the support. So it could be 213, could be all the way down to 208 too, where that 100-week moving average is as well. So would I buy it in the middle of this zone? No, I would not, because it's just in the middle of a range, and I don't like things in the middle.
If you pull up my screen just real quick, I can just show everyone my Apple chart.
Yeah.
Let's do it as a 12-hour chart. No, it's not going to work. That's just 12 minutes. I guess that's just a daily chart. I'm trying to get it so I can show enough of it here. So I've been projecting for it to hit 251.78 all along, and I'd say it's just still on its way there. I think the retrace would be the 764 at 221.43. So I think on the way to get, I just have to pull all this sideways a little bit. And I think what it's going to do is just going to try, once it gets over 221, like it's kind of doing it now. It's oscillating around 221 at this 76.4% fib extension. And once it can build a base here, it'll reach up for that 251.78, then fall back down to it real quick, touch it, and then go. And then my next target is the 1618 at 331.28 over a long time. You can't really go by these numbers down here because Elliott wave theory is just really terrible at predicting timing. Unlike GAN. GAN is so much better. That's it. That's what I got for Apple. Okay. It's going to try to build a base over 221. Even though it's at 216 now, it's just kind of like oscillating around it. And if it can it can stay on top of 221.43, then it should go to 251.78.
Alrighty. Yeah, we'll go on to NVIDIA now. I see a request for that. So NVIDIA pre-market here, down below. It's going to open below again the 50-day moving average, but none of this is kind of a surprise either, because if you look at the weekly chart, it's still, in my opinion, just making lower highs and lower high, lower high, lower high. So it can do anything within this range from down to like 108 all the way up to maybe 130. It can do anything in there, in my opinion, and I won't really get super bullish on it again until it can break above and make a higher high. So it's still kind of in a short-term downtrend. The high time frame is still very bullish, so that doesn't change my perspective of the future. But it does just make me think that it's going to be a lot more time before it wants to break out still. And the daily chart is kind of saying the same thing now, where price kind of looks like it maybe wants to go back to test the 115 zone, the top of the cloud, maybe even go back down to 114 or all this demand zone right down there as well, down to the 110s or even the 108. So still in that range, and it's just not looking ready to break out yet. But still, the whole week could be in a very volatile range from the high 120s down to the 108s again, right? That's what I'm seeing.
Yep. I got something really interesting to show. I've done some people this before. Oh, great. So I have this weird idea, and it may not happen, but what, if the market did decide to do a liquidity grab and everyone says, oh, it's all priced in and we're going to test back down again on some news or whatever, I've been watching this simple moving average daily 200 creeping up and up and up. And if something were to happen, it looks like it kind of like right when the 200 moving average would hit my 23.6% fib, maybe it might dive down just to touch that real quick and then go right back up again. I mean, might get, it looked like something like this one right here, where it just like dove down and took right back off again. So if you're interested in buying NVIDIA, keep some cash on hand. And if it goes this low, buy that dip. It doesn't have to do that. And, like Matt was just saying, it's probably going to maybe retouch this 382 extension of the 108.68 and test that. This is just like if it breaks below, it would go to the next fib 9605. Otherwise, it should do about 108 and then just drift back up to test the top of this. Maybe it gets on top of this triangle, tests back down, and then moves up. So getting over 129 would be the next critical level.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And until that happens, it's just going to go sideways. And I'll go back to my weekly chart that I was talking about last week, how I think it's going to do like what Bitcoin did, because Bitcoin broke out and finally touched the cloud. So I think this will probably just drift sideways, maybe for months, and then possibly December touch the cloud and then go up, because it kind of looks like it's just going to do something like this, like maybe come down, then come up, and then come down, and then up, and then maybe try to go another high and then come down again and then go. Like I could see that doing for a long time, because it just had a massive move, and this is the whole period of just cooling off before
that point right there.
Higher.
Maybe once the 200 moving average, daily moving average drift to that point, maybe that's where it'll take off.
Yeah, if we just drew the line, it would probably go right here, maybe in December. It's like it would probably be right at that point, exactly, right?
So as soon as it touches that, that might be where it takes off next.
Yeah, and that kind of sits around $100. But yeah, RMD surveillance is saying 5-year outlook. I mean, for me, 5-year outlook, it looks like it all depends on if it breaks these highs, but I still see it going to the 200s, possibly to the 300s in 5 years. So
I've got that chart in my head where the whole thing just goes ballistic, logarithmic, and it goes to like 400 over 3 years. Just gets nuts. Like when suddenly everyone realizes, oh, the whole world's going to be built on NVIDIA chips.
Yeah, like
until there's an alternative.
I think I have my log scale chart here. Let me just take these off.
Because think about like, what if Palantir gets its total addressable market and it goes wide? It's going to need compute power for all those other businesses that it's going to offer. It's going to try to service, and it's going to need more and more and more compute power.
Well, if this if my level ever becomes like a support here, then possibly the next level could be like 1800.
Yeah, see, exactly.
So that's kind of hard to believe, because that market cap would just be insane, right? That'd be over a 10x market cap, like over 30 million or 30 billion market cap, trillion, sorry, 30 trillion market cap.
I know. Here's an interesting idea. There was once upon a time, there were like these little oil companies, and then you got big oil, and they became like the richest companies on the planet. But now, if we can make electricity almost free or get it at cost anyway, then compute power is the new oil. And so NVIDIA is the new big oil. Tech is the new big oil.
Yeah, I mean, data is going to be super important. And also, I think crypto could be an important role in filtering that data, because it's immutable, right? And people like to change and corrupt systems, but if it goes through the ledger or anything, then you can't change that. So I think AI needs that kind of immutable stuff. So
exactly, that's where they need.
Yep, crypto and data go hand in hand, really.
Yep, that's where the streams cross, like in Ghostbusters.
All right, we got CLSK as a request here, and it met my 45 perfectly. It's just doing what Bitcoin's doing, really. It's down pre-market a little bit, and if I put back on those indicators there, like nothing really has changed, right? The 100-week moving average is still support, and resistance kind of still sits above. And when you go to a day-to-day basis, it kind of looks like it's going back to test the conversion line as a daily support down around 914. And we'll see where it opens up. But basically, it's kind of trying to just find its new base is what it's looking like. And so is Bitcoin. Bitcoin's kind of doing the same thing, trying to find a new base after it broke out. So Was it a surprise it's going to sell off after the weekly close? Not to me, because of the way they closed it, right? Bitcoin did close below that conversion line here for the Ichimoku, right? It just basically they kept it up all day yesterday above that 59,797, and then they just pushed it back down and closed below. And so now it's
They don't want
basically
they don't want the minor stocks to do well on Monday.
no. They basically like want it to be stuck in this range still, like the 54,500 all the way up to the 60,000. They just want it to be stuck in that range, and I think maybe we'll see it more weeks to come. Possibly in October, then could maybe go higher. But yeah, I don't really see any major moves yet. Just really stuck for that. Do you have a chart you want to show? Or are you okay?
No, keep going.
All right. And we have EOS next. Oh, I think you have an EOS chart you like, right?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, so EOS, it's still in that range of resistance to me. And what I see here is just these previous resistance levels too. When you look kind of in the past, like going back here with these candles here, like a previous resistance zone.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's going to be 290 to 320. It's going to be a big resistance zone, in my opinion. But I think it can get there. I think as long as it closes candles above these 280 levels, it can get there easily. But will it break above this whole zone anytime soon? Not too sure. It might go up there, then consolidate, find a new base, and then finally go higher. But that could take some time as well. It already had a very explosive move from the very bottom here. So I think
it did.
I think any kind of thinking it's going to just shoot up to $6 like this year. I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe next year, right? So
yeah, just be patient.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you pull up my screen,
Yeah.
I'll show you what I've been tracking here on EOS Energy. After cool, it's so cool I can watch myself down here. After this 1-2, and then I started tracking. Now we're in wave 3. The wave 3 minor 1 we already struck. I predicted this perfectly. I predicted I can't remember what I predicted now. I predicted 279, it hit 280. I predicted 209, it hit 210. My next prediction is 318, which fits right along with your 320 resistance. I didn't even look back here, but yeah, there's 320 right there. 320. So it's going to come right up to that, just under at 318, sell back off to about 289, and then head on to 391. Now, since we did just have this big move, this also looks to me like a leading diagonal where price is kind of doing this, and it'll kind of reach that, and that's got to correct. Maybe we'll get a stronger, longer correction than 289. But this might take a while before it can go back higher again. So once I sell at 318, I'll just be patient with cash, and I'll watch the 289 level, and I'll watch and see if it goes any lower than that. And if it does, I'll just predict another fib down or two.
Yeah, because 290 is the top, is the orange level for my GAN. So yeah, that's going to be looking like some resistance.
Yeah, it's resistance. Then it gets above it, then it's support, or it loses that support and goes down a little bit longer. But then 391 is the top of my wave 3. So the blue lines are the subwaves of this wave 3. Then it does go 321 and then 573, but that might be next year. And that's my EOS chart. So
Nice.
yeah, I'll sell at least half my position into 318.
Nice. Yeah, because it could take a while to break that, I think. Yeah.
I've got like an epically large position. I now have more EOS than I have in BFRD, and BFRD has been my biggest holding for a long time. Swinging hard into this one.
All right, and next we have CORZ here, and CORZ was a request, and I like it. I like it a lot because it's breaking above my level there. 1060 is the target, and the market just opened, so we can see that this weekly chart could come back down to test to 1060. If it breaks back below and closes a week below, then that's not going to be a good thing. So I want this weekly candle to stay above it. because that would be the first time there's really 2 consecutive weeks above it. And if that happens, then it can build that base to continue higher and higher. So sure, it can wick below if it wants, go down to the low 10s, 9s, whatever, but close the week back above 1060, then I think it can be clear to go to the levels above in the 18s and 19s and 20s above. But it's gotta maintain 1060 as support.
Surprise, surprise, Tesla is taking a nosedive at the open, and it's already back into that this triangle that I've been tracking. Yeah, it's back into the 4-year triangle at
Yeah.
228.50.
Well, it's really no surprise too, because it's just backtesting the top of the cloud too, which it still hasn't even got there yet. So I still think the possibility to go to at least 226 today, if not back to the Ichimoku down there at 218, right? That's also a possibility. So it
It's
could be a very volatile week. Very
yes,
volatile.
it's basically making the move that I was predicting it was going to make on Friday, and inside they kicked the can to this week, and they ended up high last week, and then now they're doing that whole test down that I was predicting on Friday that we didn't get.
Yep. Yeah, so it's just doing the predictable thing too, simply because it's stuck under 235. So
Yeah,
just
it's
got to be patient on that one.
that the 237.45 will be the important 76.4% bullish fib extension, and they're just going to kick that can down the road
Oh yeah.
until probably the end of September, beginning of October.
Oh yeah, and I
But
think
this
we
is
have
this is this is why I'm at EOSE right now, and I'm not in Tesla right now
because Tesla wants to
because
always test support.
Tesla wants to keep testing every support after damn support.
Yeah, it's already back to 225, so it's no
Yeah,
surprise. It's just back testing levels. Somebody
225.
said,
I'm just going to say 225.26 is the 50% retrace. I'm sorry, it's the 50% extension level off of the 182 low. So it should bounce off that 225 at first and then maybe hang around there. That should be support for a little bit.
okay. And just there's another request of SOFI. They want to see if it's going to $14, and I don't think it's going there anytime soon. Just looking at this chart, I think the momentum can continue to the upside up to here towards the $8 level, maybe the 820, 830, 840. But this whole zone is still going to be resistance, as you could see a couple weeks ago, where it just got rejected right there. So it's not going to get super bullish until it's really on the top side of all this resistance in the 9s. So once it's in the 9s, then yeah, it can go to the 11s and 12s and then up higher and higher. But until then, it's still going to be just a lot of resistance. So I think just more time. And it's looking like possibly into later this year, maybe December, even January is when probably price could get above those levels. So just got to be patient with SoFi. And let's see, do you have anything to add with SoFi?
I don't have a SoFi chart.
Okay.
We've got enough stocks to track. You're the crypto guy.
And there's Nano Nuclear. Somebody's asking about that one. NNE.
I do have a chart for NNE.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah, I traded that one. I did a pretty good trade on it, and then it got a bad hit piece. What am I trying to say? Like somebody came out and said, "Oh, NNE's not a real company. They'll never be able to do the thing that they said they're going to do." And let's
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think real quick, just on the daily Ichimoku, it's telling a story how it just went up towards the bottom of the cloud, got rejected, and now maybe it wants to retest some levels of support, possibly back down to 1150 or so.
Yep.
Before it wants to go higher, and then just we'll see. Maybe next week it can, or the week after, it can be in the cloud, and then build that base to go higher to the $22 level. But just right now, it looks kind of stuck. It had a nice week last week, and now it's just looking to find a new higher low before it wants to go higher. And I'll let you show your chart.
Great. I'm going to move my chart over. Oh, I can't. Just here's my NNE chart. So, when it was doing this in June, July, I got to trade this for a little while. This is really cool. And then like this hit piece came out from this company saying that, oh, they'll it's just run by a bunch of yokels that'll never make anything out of this company. It's just a money grab. And the whole thing just did this, just went sideways all of August. I mean, down all of August. But now it did find a bottom. and then it retested that bottom. And so off of this low to this high to this higher low, I'm projecting if it keeps going bullish, it could see 32.54 next. Not saying it'll get there immediately. It could, like Matt said, it could go in this cloud for a while. It could consolidate sideways for a little bit, but then build a base on top of this 1441 to get to 32.54, a retest to 1942, which means 1942 will be resistance for a while before it builds the base that's going to revisit later. And then on to 53.75. And ultimately, if this thing really does become a real going concern, $88. This is a SPAC, so just be careful. But look, yeah, if this thing goes bullish, look for 32.54 next with a support at 1441. Even though it's below it right now, it's kind of oscillate a little bit around that 1441, I think.
Okay. Very good.
That is my NNE.
And I guess no more requests, so just a final look at the markets. And yeah, like the QQQ is just going down to maybe retest support as well, down to 465 as a possibility. IWM still green. SPY is just hanging in there too. Tesla really took a dive, right? Down to 223.
Oh, yeah. 223.
But it looks like it's just going back to retest the daily conversion line there, and that's at 222.76. So let's see if that holds. It might not be necessary to go back to the bottom of the cloud at 219 just because it kind of did that last week already. So we'll see if it can just hold that 222.76 level. That could be the opportunity for today for a bounce. And I think, NVIDIA down $4. No surprise there, really. Apple down. I think Apple still has more room to go, at least down to the bottom of the cloud, 213, or even to the SMA down there at 208. So lots of red, but in my opinion, it's just last week was a great week, right, for most things. And I think just a little bit retesting support is a normal thing.
The VIX is up exactly 1 point. It closed at 1657 on Friday, and it is now at 1748.
Yeah. Well, now it's 1719 on mine, unless mine's lagging. I don't know. Unless mine's lagging. Sometimes, I don't know. Does your futures things on TradingView lag sometimes?
I wouldn't be able to compare it. There's nothing for me to compare it to.
Okay.
I've always assumed that it works perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm showing 1749 for my VIX right now.
Yeah. I mean, everything's doing what it should be. You still have your AAPL position, yeah? So that's doing okay still, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think that still has some room to go to that 200 week at 46.52 up there, ARKK. So, but yeah, everything to me just looks like it got rejected by some sort of resistance and it's going back to test some support. So there's really no surprise in the market this morning, in my opinion.
Yep. Everything's going to hang out. They'll try to find some safe place to hang out ahead of the Wednesday announcement, and then be ready to jump up or jump down from their. It's like when you're playing tennis, and right after you send the ball back to the other side, you got to run back to the middle of the court so you can get the ball whichever way the other guy sends it. So the market's going to the middle of the court to get ready to catch this thing whichever way it goes up or down for Wednesday.
Yeah. But I think a lot of the interest rate sensitive stocks should still continue to do well because lower rates is better for them. So, all right. But I guess I'll let you go back to your show. And that's it for Mattsby's morning.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Mattsby.
Yeah, thank you.